Welcome everybody to Rock Video Rental, and this month we are diving into The Awesomely Bad. And man, is there really a better way to start it with no other than Troll 2?
I can't imagine a better movie. I know that you have better experience in this than I do, but nothing comes close in my nothing really comes close. You and I have seen a few others, but this one just is head and shoulders above the rest.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely a cult classic. I guess before we get started, if you guys have never listened before, I am Brandon, and with me is Caleb. Um, Dude, what have you been watching that is anything of note, anything interesting?
Well, things kind of slowed down for me because of March Madness, but as that has kind of wrapped up and my team finally got knocked out. I finished The Witcher. As I said, we're canceling Netflix, so had to get that fixed before I ended. And I actually just saw that they announced today that the filming for the season 2 wrapped up. I have no idea what that means as far as like when season 2 will be ready, but yeah, there's that. So then I decided to look at other Netflix series that I really wanted to catch up on before I canceled it. And I decided to skip Stranger Things because I've done that multiple times. So I figured I'd hit up Breaking Bad before we cancel the account.
Rock. Yeah, I was just thinking of Stranger Things today. I'm like, dude, if they keep delaying that, the kids are going to be like 37 by the time the next season comes out.
Yeah. Are they going to have to? Is there a reverse app? You know, that app that makes you look old? Is there a reverse app that they could just like make them look like 5 years younger?
They might have to at this point.
Or do a bunch of camera tricks to make them look short, I guess.
Right. Oh, man. So for me this week, I've been continuing with my Godzilla marathon. Um, Last week I mentioned I finished like the entire Showa era.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm on to the Heisei era, which is like the 80s and 90s movies. Oh man, I watched Godzilla 1985, also known as Godzilla's Return, or Return of Godzilla, one of those two. Then I watched Godzilla vs. Biollante, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, Godzilla vs. Mothra, and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Um, and then Godzilla vs. Kong came out, so I had to watch that.
Rock.
And I won't spoil anything or give anything away, but I thought it was pretty great.
Nice. Yeah,
And I do want to mention that I watched it before Craig.
Did you message him right away and be like, "Oh,
just start dropping spoilers like crazy"?
Dude, at the 1 hour mark, blah 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 blah.
Spoiler bomb.
Oh,
no, I told him, just a couple of things that weren't really spoilers, just kind of my thoughts on it.
Here's one question though.
Mm-hmm.
Is it important to have watched any other movies before watching Godzilla vs. Kong?
Maybe a little. Maybe Godzilla King of the Monsters. I mentioned before that I have not seen Kong Skull Island, even though I own it. Yeah, it was just one of those things. Black Friday, I got it super cheap on Blu-ray, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to watch this, and I just haven't got around to doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess a little thing from Godzilla King of the Monsters, a couple things in there, but
nothing too important.
No, not really. You can pick up what's going on with the story. And kind of Stranger Things related, Millie Bobby Brown's in it.
Yeah.
It's just a great job. And just watching that made me realize that's what made me think about Stranger Things. Like, God, if they keep delaying this, like kids are going to be like 20 years old because she looked a lot older in that than she did in the last time we saw her in Stranger Things.
Yeah.
But hopefully that gets back on track because I missed that show.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want to dive right into the craziness and cheesiness?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it.
You're late.
I'm sorry we had a small mishap.
Here are the keys.
Here are ours.
Have a nice stay in Mill Pond.
And you in our city.
Still telling the same story, Josh?
Powers of evil are very strong here. I must leave.
Goblins don't exist. Goblins don't exist.
And remember, they're eating her! So they're going to eat me! So dizzy.
Kids with a sweet tooth like yours love ice cream.
Delicious. And purified.
I order you for the sacred power of the magic stones. No!
So, the infamous Troll 2 is a 1990 horror movie directed by Claudio Fragasso under the pseudonym of Drake Floyd, which was very common for Italian directors, especially in this era of 90s and 80s, to use pseudonyms. But so the plot for the movie is a vacationing family discovers that an entire town they're visiting is inhabited by goblins disguised as humans who plan to eat them. Please make note of something in that plot saying goblins in a movie is called Troll 2. It has absolutely nothing to do with Troll 1, which is an interesting movie within itself. So the cast for the movie, we got George Hardy as Michael Waits, Michael Paul Stevenson as Joshua Waits, Margot Prey as Diana Waits, and Connie Young as Holly Waits. There's a few other characters in there, but that's just like the main family that you really need to know.
Yeah.
I have to mention too that at the end of the episode, we'll actually have a special message from George Hardy. We noticed that he was on Cameo, and we decided to reach out to him, and he sent us a message over. Super funny guy, so guys, you can look forward to that. I'll mention it again at the end of the episode.
Yeah, if you're familiar with Troll 2, you'll get a kick out of this message.
Yeah. So did you and I watch this together?
Yes, there is. I
sure we
cannot
did.
fathom any way that I watched and sat through this entire movie without watching it with someone else. Because I think so. Little brief backstory on Brandon and I. We worked at the same place together for a while after we went to college together, and it was a long commute from where we lived. And when Brandon moved to the job, I'd crash at his place once a week so I wouldn't have to drive like 50 million hours a week. And so it was always a movie night. And I swear that was one of the times that we watched this movie. I don't think it was in college.
Yeah, I think it definitely was when we were working together.
Yeah.
Because this was on Netflix for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how we watched it. And I watched it once before that because it popped up on Netflix, and I saw it when I was in college, and my roommates and I used to like to watch bad movies. Yeah, I didn't really know what it was, and then I like, started researching bad stuff online, and that kept coming up. I'm like, man, we might have to watch this. And yeah, it's just one of those movies that you can get together with your friends and laugh at. Um, Another one of those that's kind of along the same lines as that we reviewed before was Miami Connection.
Hmm.
It's just got funny line after funny line and just awkward moments and cheesy stuff.
But at least that one kind of made sense besides the title. So
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess this movie at least has like a plot. Where Miami Connection, I don't feel like really even had a plot.
yeah, but like it's called Troll 2 and there's no trolls.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it's so I don't know, man. We'll get
Uh,
there.
yeah, we'll get to some interesting stuff when we get to the facts. Uh, so, basically the movie starts out as like this family is going um, on vacation and they're doing a home exchange where, they go stay at somebody's house and the people that own that house go stay at theirs, which I wasn't even sure was a real thing.
Oh yeah, I've heard it. Didn't you ever watch The Holiday or was it whatever it was?
I don't think so.
Jack Black and who else and whoever whatever some girlfriend or whatever made me watch that one time.
Uh, no, I've not seen that. So, they basically go stay at this farmhouse in this tiny little town called Nilbog. And spoiler alert, Nilbog is goblin spelled backwards.
What?
Doo.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh. So we get the Waits family. We get the father played by our buddy George Hardy, the mother, the son, and the daughter. And so this movie is so bizarre and so hard to explain. Before they get to leave, the deceased grandfather somehow reaches out to the son, and
And the
um,
son's like what, like 12?
something like that. He has like a dream where he talks to him, and he's telling him not to go to Nilbog because um, there's vegetarian zombies that want to mutilate him and his family into plants so they can eat them. Which is as awesome as it sounds. So he tries to warn the family, and they're just like, "Yeah, you're crazy." And then we get a couple of my favorite scenes. We get, I guess, one of my favorite scenes out of the whole like bunch of them happens next, where they're taking this car ride to the town, and the son's like trying to warn them again, and they're just not listening, and they're getting like a little irritated with him, and the mom like tries to distract the whole situation with like, "How about you, Michael? How about you or Joshua? I mean, why don't you? How about you sing that song I like?" And he's like, "I don't want to sing." And come on, just sing the song. And he starts singing "Row, row, row your boat." Just like that's the song that you love that he sings.
I was like, is he like 5?
Right. And um I gotta believe that the only reason they chose that song is because it's free.
Yeah,
It's
and
what they
also
produce.
because it's like a easy unison song, and yeah, it was.
Yeah, the whole family sings it together. So at the same time, we got the daughter's goofy boyfriend and his friends like trying to meet up with him so he can spend time with his girlfriend. And it's just like they're in an RV.
Yeah, tracking him down.
Yeah, a bunch of you got your typical like 80s, early 90s teenage stereotype guys where they're just the boyfriend is like obsessed with hanging out with his friends and he gets them to come with promises of um like
Single girls.
loose single women that are going to be there in droves for them. uh, so they like arrive at the house and right from the get-go things are just odd. Was it they find out that like all the food is just kind of jacked up,
Y-
like it's rotting, and like the milk is chunky, and
Yeah, it's just a weird place, weird people, weird food, and just would be straight up creepy, honestly, in reality.
uh, so man, I guess you know this whole time we're getting like Grandpa Seth showing up in all these like different situations. Like he shows up as a hitchhiker. Um, and later on he shows up in the mirror talking to Joshua, trying to get him to like warn his family, and of course no one's listening to him. It happens the entire movie,
Yeah.
which is a stereotype within itself and a cliche in like these movies. Um,
Well, then one of the most infamous scenes is about them eating the food.
hmm Yeah, so this is probably like one of the two famous lines from this movie. Um, yeah, I mean, I think everybody has seen that clip of the "Oh my God." I mean, I'll get to that part, but like the first one we get is a classic from George Hardy, which they have like this huge spread of food, and they're all excited to sit down and eat. And Grandpa Seth's like talking to Joshua, like, "Don't let him eat the food. Like, if they eat the food, um, he'll die. Like then the trolls will or the goblins will eat them." And uh, he's like, "You have to do something." And he's like, "I'll give you 10 seconds." So like he freezes him, like classic, like he's and Saved by
Magic.
the Bell or something.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, like he's got magical powers, but he can only talk to Joshua.
Yeah, Grandpa Zach Morris here. Um, so he's like, "I gotta do something," and then he's like, "You know what you have to do?" And Joshua like stands up on top of the table and then like unzips his pants. And like the next scene is Michael, the dad, carrying him, and he's like walking down the hallway, and he's like, "Do you see this writing? Do you know what this means? Hospitality. And you can't piss on hospitality. I won't allow it." Which is just one of the classic, I guess, infamous lines from this movie. And it's
Oh,
probably what George Hardy's most known for. And the fact that he just embraces it and loves it, it makes it even better.
oh yeah, and his delivery too. That's one of the best deliveries in the whole movie.
Oh yeah, it's enthusiastic to say the least.
Yeah. Well, and then
Uh,
it's just so funny because we won't go through the whole scene, but like right after he says that, he drags the son up to a room on the second floor, essentially when
yeah,
he's saying that, and he puts him in the bed, and then when he does that, he adjusts his belt.
yeah. Well,
So
that's right before that. The mom says, "Don't hit him, Michael."
yeah, and the kid and the son Josh was just like, "What are you gonna do, Daddy?" And it's just you go from that, what I feel like is, I don't know how to even phrase it, but that iconic strong delivery from George Hardy for the hospitality line, and then
Mhm.
you all of a sudden like road stop, crash and burn into "What are you gonna do, Daddy?" It just it was such an abrupt turn.
Yeah, then he says, "I'm tightening my belt one loop so I don't feel hunger pains, and
Yeah.
your sister and mother will have to do likewise." And
Oh
like,
man.
he tells him, he's like, "If you want to go through a hunger strike, I accept the challenge." And he's like, "But remember when I was your age, I did suffer from hunger." Like, what?
Yeah. Oh man.
Backstory. Character backstory.
Yeah, there were a couple times that it was very obvious that they were trying to give you backstory information, and it was not well executed.
Yeah. So, we kind of go from that scene to a little bit later. They show the RV of the 80s bros, and I say 80s because I mean, it's early
It
90s,
came out
so
in
it's pretty much
1990,
80s.
so yeah, they were definitely 80s.
Yeah. Uh, they have like promises of girls that they can hook up with, and one guy named Arnold decides he's going to step outside, and he ends up seeing a woman like running through the woods, and he goes and chases after her, and it's like that whole scene is awkward too because I don't know about you, but if I saw like a girl screaming and running away, I'd probably like call the cops
Yeah.
or ask like what's wrong, and if she just kept screaming and running, I'd be like, "Oh, I'm getting out of here."
I'd be like, okay,
Instead, he
guys.
chases her down and then tackles her and then lays on top of her.
Yeah, because that's normal.
And this is where we get our first look at the first real look of the goblins, I guess, other than like the story that Grandpa Seth says. And man, they look like crap. The masks are like falling apart, and they look awful.
Well,
The ones get the bug eyes.
yes, that right there. That was the part that was the most difficult, where it's just like the ones where you couldn't see their eyes, like it gave a little bit of a creepy effect,
Mhm.
but then they had that one with the bug eyes.
Yeah, the one of the bug eyes looked like a mask you would get from like Dollar General or something.
Exactly. I was like, man, if they just eliminated that one, it would help so much. But they didn't. Like, it was in there, so it's just like another one of those bad things in the movie that just like piles on top of the mountain of bad stuff.
Yeah, and that mask really doesn't even look like what I would consider a goblin. It just looks like an old lady with messed up eyes. With like Steve Buscemi eyes or something. uh, so, he's running after her and she's explaining, they're trying to kill me, and he gets a spear thrown into him, which is hilarious. After he tries to be like a hard ass and chase him off. Uh, and from there he ends up like going into this chapel, and it's where they encounter like this witch named Credence.
Clearwater.
Revival. uh, so she's got like uses the magic of like a Stonehenge stone.
Dude, that
which
made me crack up.
instantly
Yes.
instantly gave me flashbacks of Halloween 3.
Thank you, dude. I did not make that connection, obviously, because I saw Troll 2 first and then Halloween 3 years later. And now I'm rewatching Troll 2, and I was like, oh my gosh, Halloween 3.
I know. I never put that connection together until the other day when I watched this again. But so basically she tricks them into drinking like this magic potion, and it dissolves like the girl that's with him into like this pile of green goo. And
Not until after she like falls and stumbles like 30 to 40 feet across the room and up the stairs to the balcony.
yeah. And then Arnold's kind of like, you can't move. And he's just kind of watching in horror. And this is where we get the other infamous line. She falls out of like this pile of green bush, and all the goblins are just like slurping it up. And he's just watching out in horror, and like the camera is on his face for way too long, and there's this random fly on his face. And he drops the line of, they're eating her, and then they're going to eat me. Oh my god.
Never ending.
Yeah, just a
Super
classic YouTube video, which, man, I don't even know how many views that has. Over 1 million for sure. And it's just become like a GIF meme, and pops up on Twitter and Facebook a lot. So like the next morning, the dad and Joshua, they go to town to buy some food. The store ends up being closed, and like they sit and wait for it. And, like the dad falls asleep in a chair waiting for the store to open, which cracks me up. Then Joshua decides he's just gonna like walk around town, And he goes to like this church and hears like this weird sermon where they're talking about the evils of eating meat. He gets captured like by the people at the church, and they're trying to like force feed him like this ice cream. Man. And like the dad walks in and becomes suspicious finally.
Only slightly suspicious though.
Yeah, only a little bit. He's like, and he like decides to, take Joshua back to the house. Gosh, and then we get Drew, one of the bros from the RV. He goes to town like trying to find food because they didn't pack any food or drinks in the RV. And like the sheriff ends up like the sheriff's name is Gene Freak, which makes me laugh. He ends up like picking him up and taking him. He gives him a green hamburger, and then he like takes him into town.
Wait, was it a hamburger or a donut?
I think it was a hamburger. It was like some kind of sandwich, I believe.
Okay.
But so Drew goes to the store and he tries to buy like something, and basically all they have is Nilbog milk.
Do you have any coffee? Nah, it's the devil's drink.
Yeah. Do you have any bacon? No. He's like, we have Nilbog milk, and that's it, pretty much. So, he decides to take it. He takes a drink, and of course he starts not feeling well, and someone tells him, that his friend Arnold is in the chapel. So he goes after him to find him, and he finds that Arnold like has been mutated into a tree. Oh gosh. Drew's like trying to get Arnold out of there, and then like the witch appears, and then she like knocks him out and then cuts Arnold into pieces with the chainsaw.
Yeah, which they don't really show. Like that's the end for those two, isn't it? Like the last time you see them.
Yeah, because like Drew dies, but you don't really even see it.
Yeah, like he gets cut up, and then the other guy gets knocked out and like thrown on a bed, and then that's it. Like you never find out what happens.
Right. So like we get back to the house with the family's at, and Joshua's like trying to attempt to contact Grandpa Seth, who we talked to in the mirror. But apparently like this time before that, like Grandpa Seth talked to the daughter.
Oh yeah, that was kind of like by accident or something.
Yeah, like so he has the ability to talk to other people, so why is he just talking to Joshua?
Yeah, I love it where he's just like, oh, my daughter never listened to me when I was alive, and it's just like, I'm pretty sure if somebody saw the ghosts of their dad, they would pay attention.
Yeah, like, okay, now you got my attention, old man. Oh gosh. So like then the witch shows up in like goblin form in the mirror and attacks Joshua. But then like Grandpa Seth shows up as like ghost appears and chops her hand off with an axe, which is hilarious. The witch like retreats to the chapel, and then she mutates herself into like a beautiful woman. That she like shows up outside the RV, and at the same time, like the one friend named Brent is watching something on TV, and like all of a sudden she speaks through the TV to him and like seduces him, and we get like one of the weirdest scenes ever put in a movie, where like involves a corn cob, and they're like making out with a corn cob, and it's really weird. Like
so weird.
And then like he gets drowned in popcorn.
Now wait, now that's another thing too. Like, did he die? Like,
I think he was supposed to be dead.
I think
he legit drowned in popcorn.
I think they were trying to emphasize that, but like he talks right before they kind of cut from the scene, so it's kind of like, did he die? Or
yeah, who knows? This movie does not do a very good job of like death scenes. and I think it's just supposed to be assumed that he did die.
Okay.
Oh gosh. So yeah, we get another scene of Grandpa Seth and Joshua talking together, and like Grandpa Seth hands Joshua a bag, and he's like, "Take this. It's a secret weapon that you can use against the goblins. It's like, do not use it unless you absolutely have to." He's like, "And I'll cause a distraction. You can get out of here." And he throws a Molotov cocktail. Oh gosh. And then like the priest shows up and like captures them, and they get locked inside the house. He like then recites a spell that banishes Grandpa Seth's soul to hell.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And then finally it starts clicking with everybody else what's going on.
Oh my gosh, like what's going on? Yeah. Um
Oh yeah, because what wound up happening is that the from the fire and everything, the priest got hit and then
yeah.
his body burned, and when they put the fire out, the corpse was a goblin.
Yeah.
And that's how the rest of the family
Yeah,
figured
because
out.
Grandpa Seth summoned a bolt of lightning from the sky.
Yes.
Which, dude, oh my gosh. Just like thinking this, talking about it out loud just makes me realize how wacky this movie really is.
Oh, dude, it's so bad. I mean, I was gonna wait and save this until the end. Usually, our movie reviews, we try to keep them. You know, we don't want to cover every scene. We want to keep it relatively brief and talk about the highlights and everything. But we're touching on so many of the scenes, and you're just like, oh my gosh, they're all over the place. It's like, no, this is the movie. This is seriously the movie. We are going in pretty much the exact order, and this is how bad the movie is.
Oh, yeah, it's one of those movies where you have to cover almost every scene. Um, and man, talk a little bit about the priest. You know who he really looks like is James Brolin, like in the 70s. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
He's got like that. I think about movies like Amityville Horror, where he had like this huge, thick, dark beard and like this poofy hair. And this is like exactly what this guy looks like, but it's just incredibly uncomfortable. That guy.
Yeah, I mean, like he had one of the better performances. Like it was still over the top, but his was one of the better ones.
Yeah. So like during this whole like craziness, the family runs to the chapel and they like hold a seance to communicate with Grandpa Seth. And he returns from the dead and then tells them that he can like come back fully for exactly 10 minutes. And that's, you know, he talks about the secret weapon. Um, and then they, you know, Joshua tries to, um, he puts his hands on the Stonehenge stone. And while he's doing this, he gets like the goblins come after him and the witch. And that's when he busts out the secret weapon, which is a double-decker bologna sandwich. I totally forgot about that part until I watched it this time.
I did too.
You know, which like repels the goblins because, you know, they can't eat meat, and I guess that's like their kryptonite. So, you know, they all touch like the Stonehenge stone, and it like fixes everything, like they walk into it or something.
Well, yeah, they're like touching it, and then like it somehow repels the goblins by them just touching it.
Yeah. So like they return home, and then Joshua's mom is like eating food from the refrigerator. So but they don't know that the food has been like poisoned by the family of goblins. And you know, she turns into like a pile of like green gook basically, but still has boobs, and it's really weird.
Yeah, it's like a mannequin inside slime.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. It's like a terribly made. It reminds me of that Jello mold from Christmas Vacation that Aunt Edna or what's her name makes. Oh gosh. I just expected to see like Cousin Eddie there eating it. I sure am enjoying it, Clark. But yeah. And then like Joshua just screams and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So we pretty much covered everything. Man, the acting. How about the acting in it?
It like it I don't feel like you really get a grasp of how rough it's going to be until um the girl, I can't think of her name, Holly
Holly, yeah.
and her boyfriend have their
Ha-
first interaction.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I remember the acting being pretty rough in this movie, but man, she might be the roughest.
Yeah.
And that's Connie Young played Holly.
Hmm.
She has done other work after this, so I'm assuming she probably got better.
Yeah. I've been clicking through a lot of these people to see how many acting spots they've had, and a lot of them only have like one or two.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I kind of forgot how bad the acting was too until that part where she and her boyfriend interacted. Like there's a little bit before that, and I was like, oh, it's the acting's not as bad as I remember. It's not too horrible. Then that came, and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot.
Oh god, man, there's so many. Oh, just the like way she delivers the lines. Like, don't get me wrong, the writing in this movie might be the worst writing ever of dialogue. It's so bad.
Yeah.
At the one part that really stands out with Holly and Elliot to me is where um they have like a back and forth where she's like, "What kind of idiotic joke is this? You scared the shit out of me." And he said, "I'm a victim of nocturnal rapture." Like, who says that? I have to release my lowest instincts with a woman, and then she punches him in the groin.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Are you nuts? Are you trying to turn me into a homo?" Like, what?
Yeah. I like none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. And that documentary that they did,
Yeah,
the worst movie, worst movie.
yeah,
They talk about some of that, and I think that just piles everything on, because this level of bad would not have happened if, and no, I have not seen anything else from this director, so not saying like he's not capable or anything, but there's definitely a barrier to get through when you have a foreign director doing an American film.
yeah.
And this was one of his earlier ones, maybe his first one. And so it was in that documentary, they mentioned that he was saying, "Oh yeah, this is what teenagers would say," and everybody's just like, "What are you talking about? This dialogue does not make sense." So
Uh, yeah, it's like if an alien decided they were gonna write dialogue for a movie. It's like real people don't talk like this. Um, I saw another movie of his called Night Killer.
okay.
It's also from 1990, and it's not much better, dude. I can tell you that. It's like it's a slasher movie, and like the guy's wearing this rubber mask that kind of looks like Freddy Krueger, but also kind of looks like the guy from Jeepers Creepers.
Okay.
It's yeah, another one there. The acting is just terrible, and the writing's even worse. Uh, I guess maybe some of the more positive acting is, George Hardy. He's not a talented actor, but I can get into that later because he's not even an actor.
Yeah.
Um, but like, kind of charismatic guy, super, super funny and like easygoing and nice. I get from him,
Hmm.
and just loves, he's a people person, after, because we both watched the documentary, so you get to see like how he is outside of this movie, and he just loves the fact that he's in this and that people recognize him from it.
Yeah. And honestly, like, the documentary would not have been the same, maybe not even have happened if he was not one of the main actors.
Oh yeah.
Because he made that documentary. I'm not saying he made it, but just like him being the center of it was what made it most interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, for not being like a trained actor at all, just being a guy that decided he wanted to try to do something in entertainment, it could have been a lot worse. At least like he had some passion, and he wasn't completely wooden and boring. He's entertaining to watch, I'll say that.
Yeah.
The guy that played Grandpa Seth, who was Robert Ormsby, wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
Man, I still think that Connie Young was probably the worst.
Yeah. Well, Grandpa Seth, that was his only movie.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's kind of the thing too, where with Connie Young, that was her first movie too. I don't know. I mean, like, this is, I didn't see anything mentioned about this too, but she at least tried to stick with acting. So I don't know if she did acting classes before the movie or not. But
Could've
yeah,
been.
with George Hardy, he just kind of fell into it. So
yeah. Yeah, and I'll say Connie Young, she was wooden. She was like lacking emotion. Her deliveries were really awkward and staged.
yeah.
And I think maybe some of the reason why she got some other acting jobs, like I said, I've only seen her in this, but I can only say that maybe the only other reason is that she had like that look of like an early 90s like teenage girl that would be in a movie, because she was attractive and she just kind of like fit into that that template of what people were looking for back then.
Most of her filming was in the middle 2000s. So,
that's kind of funny.
Yeah, so it was quite a bit later. I mean, she had one other movie in the 90s, and then she had her longest stint in the 2000s. So
yeah.
But what is kind of funny is that George Hardy apparently had a stint. Well, actually, still a stint of acting after the documentary came out.
Yeah.
Because he did Troll 2 in 1990 and then did something with 2007. The documentary came out in 2009. And he's got a slew, nothing huge, but a slew of movies then from 2012 to 2020 now. So he's been active.
Yeah, I can believe that, just because this movie has such a cult following to it.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other like moments or quotes that really stand out to you?
Well, before getting into quotes and everything, real quick, like acting wise, I mean, I feel like, and this is, I remember us talking about it before, but I feel like a person who gets overlooked is Deborah Reed, who played Credence.
Yeah.
Like, she was crazy.
Yeah, dude, like her acting would have fit perfectly like on stage.
Yes, that is the first thing I thought of. I was just like, she must have a stage background because she's doing really good with portraying her emotions through her animated reactions,
facial expressions, and like body language and stuff. Yeah, for sure.
So I really felt like she had some kind of stage background. I don't see anything on IMDb as far as like if she did plays or stage production or anything. She only did one other actually acting performance. Funny enough, she was in the makeup department for Dumb and Dumber. I thought that's
hilarious.
worth mentioning. But yeah, I felt like I mean, okay, in a movie full of bad acting, when somebody does not so bad, it's good.
Yeah.
She did relatively okay with the acting, but I felt like she was a big part of the movie, and the documentary didn't really highlight her. I, for a little bit, thought maybe she had passed away or something.
Yeah.
But she was in it, and the only time that I noticed that she was in it was when they had one of their big viewings for the movie, and she was in the Q&A time, but they didn't talk to her, they didn't ask her anything, and I was just like, man, I thought she was a bigger character than some of the other people that they talked to. So
Yeah, maybe she just didn't want to be in it.
yeah, it's possible. So
Yeah. Um yeah, it's the first thing I thought of too when I saw her this time. Paying a little more attention to things that yeah, she definitely it seems like she had to have had some like stage background.
mhm.
Um man, there's another person I was thinking of, but now I lost it. But yeah, like you said, in a movie full of terrible acting, the stuff that's like would be terrible in other movies kind of shines a little bit brighter.
Yeah. Well, that priest guy too, like we said, like he really embraced his character, and while it was as what we would label over the top, it
Mhm.
was it was better to go over the top than not to go at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean he was menacing enough as his character, so
Mhm. The last one I'll talk about is Margot Prey,
mhm.
the mom. What a
Yeah.
wackadoodle that lady is.
Dude, you know who she reminded me of?
Huh.
She reminded me of Barney Stinson's mom.
Yeah, looks wise for sure.
Yeah.
Um, she is very strange, and she shows up. You know, she's strange enough in the movie, but she shows up in that documentary too. And kind of the part at the end where they ask her, like, you know, what would it take to get you to come to like the viewing of this movie and like do some Q&A? And she's like, to be completely alone and away from society or something like that. And like George Hardy and Michael
My,
Stevenson to play
mhm.
Joshua just kind of like look at each other and are like, yeah, well, all right.
Have a
It's
good
like
day now.
it's like big gulps, huh? All right. Yeah, just very awkward lady.
Mhm.
Um, so do you want to get into trivia and facts? Because I got quite a bit for this movie.
Oh yeah, go for it. I can imagine it's gonna be a long one.
So we talked about the acting in this. So the entire cast of this movie went to a casting call hoping to be extras, and they ended up getting the lead roles.
No way.
Yeah. Um, so George Hardy, for his audition, all he did was act out his famous "You can't piss on hospitality" line in front of 9 Italians who were just sitting there like smoking. None of them understood English, and George was told that he got the role partially because the Italians loved the energy he put into it.
Wow.
Which, you know, good for him. I mean, he's a high energy dude, you can see from the documentary. Just
Yeah.
like a fun loving, genuinely nice guy. Um, so the director, Claudio Fragasso, and his wife, Rosella Drudy,
Mm-hmm.
um, they only spoke Italian at the time and then wrote the screenplay in very poor English. So on the set, the actors suggested that they ad-lib their lines to make the dialogue sound better, and Fragasso like forbade them from doing that, and all the lines had to be read as written. He also refused any help from the English-speaking crew or cast.
It doesn't make sense. And how did he know? Like, so he didn't speak it, but he could understand English, or?
I guess like he didn't wasn't fluent in it. I guess.
Hmm.
Uh, so Judy, the who wrote the script, she wrote this after many of her friends turned to vegetarians.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
So yeah, like this movie is very like anti-vegetarian. It pokes some fun at it. Uh, so sticking with the director, he's still angry about the movie's like poor reception,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see in the documentary that he crashed like the cast reunion Q&A, and like
Mm-hmm.
he heckled the cast while he was there, and he got escorted out, and he was still heckling the cast from the hallway and calling them liars and dogs
Yeah.
as they answered fake questions. Like this guy's just a pompous douche.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just like I get that. I mean, there's it would be kind of tough to be a part of something where they're saying that something you did was terrible to a certain extent, you know. I mean, like the actors got it. Like they understood it. They're just like, dude, we did not do a good job. Like it's
Yeah.
cool that people are able to have fun with it and find it entertaining and have this huge movement behind it, but we
Mhm.
recognize that it's not good.
Yeah.
Now, I can totally understand that director would take it in a different way because it's their movie.
Yeah, it's
Like,
his vision.
yeah, but also it's just like, dude, like you did not set yourself up for success when you're not allowing feedback and you're bridging the language barrier. I mean, any American who goes over to another country trying to do the same thing would still would have the same thing. It would no offense to anyone who's done it, but I can't imagine any good movie has been made from an American director going outside the United States without an effective translation crew or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was kind of wondering about that when he started showing up in the documentary, where I'm just like, man, I don't know how he's going to receive this. So
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, gosh. Another thing about George Hardy is that he is actually a dentist and not an actor. But yeah, he's still very much loves the fact that he is in that movie, and that's what people recognize him from. Um, Another thing I got here, the movie was shot in 3 weeks, which doesn't surprise me. Let's see, there's this Jason Stedman was the guy who played Drew. In the movie, he wore a yellow shirt that had a logo on like the left chest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in the first half of the movie because somewhere along the line he lost the shirt, and instead of refilming all the scenes with a different shirt, the film crew told Stedman to go buy another yellow shirt. They didn't give him any money. They didn't send anybody else to do it. He had to go do it himself, spend his own money on it, and then he brought it back and wore it for the rest of the movie. So there's a part where he's got a logo on his shirt and then he doesn't.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I really didn't even notice.
Oh no, I doubt anybody noticed, especially the first time watching it, because
Yeah.
there's just so much nonsense.
Oh, for sure. So this movie was super low budget. It only had its budget was $65,000.
Dang.
Which, I mean, some people can make a good movie out of that.
So how, did they not pay any of the actors?
If they did, it was next to nothing. A lot of the
Yeah.
money probably just went into the camera and the film cost. So the last one I got here is Darren Ewing was the guy who played Arnold, where he slowly turns into a tree. They actually screwed his shoes into the base of the tree pot. Those were his actual shoes. They weren't ones that were given to him. Those are the ones he wore to filming. And they made him stand there without moving for 14 hours as they put the makeup on him. 14 hours straight of standing.
Yeah,
Like
and
you
then
screw shoe to a pot.
they talked about how he was complaining.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you stand there for 14 hours then.
Yeah, like my knees would blow out by the time.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh, and that is all I've got. We can get into grades. So I pulled from IMDb and from Rotten Tomatoes. Um, yeah, just for laughs, you wanna do the Rotten Tomatoes one, or is a critic and an audience score?
Critic score 0.
Close. The critic score is 5%.
The audience score 20%.
44.
Wow.
I think it's just because it has that cult following.
Yeah, it's got to be that cult following.
So IMDb, I think this might be the lowest rated movie we have ever reviewed.
0%.
Just 3.
3. Oh, it's not percent, by the way. It's points. I forgot.
Yeah, 3.0.
Wow, 3
Because
still.
even Rambo had a higher rating than that.
Wow, 3 is still kind of high. Like, honestly.
We could go much lower, is what you're saying.
Well, I feel like they could have at least gone down to, like, what are you going to put at 1 or 2 then?
Right. I don't know what the lowest rated movie is on IMDb. I might have to check that out and talk about it sometime.
Yeah.
So do you want to give your grade first, or you want me to go first?
Oh man, go ahead and go first.
Alright. So my enjoyment of this movie is like much like everybody else's, that it's just so bad that it's great. It was really a great movie to pick to do an episode on because there's so many things to talk about. So many funny, awkward moments in it. There's really like more than even have time to talk about. But I've watched it I think 3 or 4 times now, and every time I like pick up on new things that just make me laugh, or I'd sit there waiting for like the funny lines, like the piss on hospitality and the oh my god and the double decker bologna sandwich. Always makes me laugh. And I'm just trying to give this movie a grade was kind of tough because there's so many like awesomely bad movies that I really like, but I know that they're bad movies, so they're tough for me to grade. Miami Connection's one of those. This one, even though I've watched it 4 times, it's one of those movies you kind of have to be in the mood to watch just because it's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, for that, I really can't give it a 5. I guess really the highest I can give this movie is a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
While it's fun, like I said, you have to be in a mood for it, and it is painfully bad at times. But I guess in a fun way. It's just I really had a hard time grading this.
Yeah.
I'll even bump it up to a 3.5 just because I do enjoy the movie.
Okay. Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, and that's kind of why I had you go first, because I'm struggling too about it, because I didn't even really think about the grade, because it is a bad movie, but it's entertaining too. Like that's why there's a cult following behind it, because it's just like it's so bad it's good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, usually from the aspect I look at it as just like, I do my grades usually from, will the average person like this, or in the genre that's in, how great is it? I think that I'm going to have to go right down the middle of the road and give it a 2.5. I was thinking about maybe going with a 3, but it's just like, it's tough because it's bad, but it's still entertaining.
Yeah, it's bad, it's funny, and it's entertaining, but it's like that it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
Is it the worst movie ever? No, some people call it that, but I've seen plenty worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've got to go with 2.5 instead of 3 because it's just like I so often talk about like, oh, would I recommend this to someone? You know, do I think the average person would enjoy it? And it's just like there's so many. The number of people that I would recommend this to plummets
Yeah.
so fast from so many of the other movies that we've watched because this is such a niche movie.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm pretty solid at 2.5 because I'm also looking at the list of ratings and I look at the other movies that I've given 1s and 2s for scores.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with giving it a 2.5 because then the entertainment factor of how bad it is gives it a little bit bump above the other movies.
Rock. You know who loves this movie? Conan O'Brien.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's one of his favorite movies.
That's awesome.
I remember on his show, I think it was when he was on the Tonight Show there for that little stretch before Jay Leno came back and screwed things up. He was giving out movie suggestions. This was one of them. I remember this, and Killdozer was another one about a killer bulldozer.
Nice.
Yeah, but he's a big fan of this. Yeah, and I mean, the rest of the month, we're going to continue on with some more awesomely bad stuff. And this was really like the best way, I think, to start this month.
Oh, yeah. And
I
I
had to
feel,
be Troll 2.
yeah, I feel kind of, I don't know if I would say bad, but there's just so much more that can be said. Like, we could make this, easily turn this into our longest episode ever, but just, I don't know.
Watch it for yourself.
Yes. Yes, definitely. If you like bad movies, absolutely for sure. If you're just curious from everything that we just spit at you for an hour, then you have to watch it, and you'll still even be more confused.
Yeah,
after you
it's on
watch the
HBO
movie.
Max right now. If you guys want to check it out, if you guys have it, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube somewhere or something.
Yeah.
It's got such a huge fan base that I'm sure. I say huge, but like huge cult wise.
Yes.
But yeah, so stick around. We have that special message from George Hardy via Cameo. Just kind of gives you like a little window of this guy's personality. It's funny. And next week we will be covering another TV show episode. We are going to be talking about a TV show that I watched a fair amount as a kid. And it's not sure it's a super kid-friendly show, but that's Baywatch. We're going to be talking about Season 6, Episode 15, titled Bash at the Beach. So until then, be kind and rewind.
Hey, it's George Hardy from Troll 2, and you can't piss on hospitality. I want to allow it, Brandon and Caleb, and my dog is barking. Maybe that's when I realized, oh, there goes another one. Hush. Maybe that's when I realized that Troll 2 was famous. Hey, you guys, Troll 2 forever. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.